First off, the disclaimer. I'm not a fanboy of Putin, nor am I a fan of Zelensky. I, however, do sympathize with the ordinary people, both in Ukraine and Russia. I firmly believe this is a war that could have been avoided, and is a war that is still continuing to be escalated by outside parties, world leaders that could help de-escalate the situation. As Ukrainian President Volodymry Zelenskyy visited Canada's Parliament on September 22nd, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau stole another $650 million from ordinary Canadian taxpayers for what? Military aid for Ukraine's corruption. I meant defense against Russia. President Zelensky, you and the Ukrainian people are holding the rules-based order in the balance, Mr. Trudeau told the Ukrainian president in the House of Commons. You are on the front lines, not just of the fight for Ukraine, but in the fight for the kind of future we are all going to be living in. Yes, the kind of future everyone wants, the one that Mr. Zelensky has created in Ukraine. Suspension of all free and fair democratic elections, shutting down of all opposition, not limited to journalists, opposition parties, and churches, and of course, drinks and caviar for the ruling class. Mr. Trudeau also called Mr. Zelensky a great champion of democracy and said an eventual resolution with Russia can't be a false peace based on a compromise imposed by the aggressor. My only question for our fine feathered leader would be, what pray tell could have led to this aggression? As I said in the opening, while I don't condone Russia, why did Russia do what they did? This was Mr. Zelensky's second address to the Canadian Parliament, with the first taking place virtually in March of 2022. Since then, you and I, tax-paying Canadians, have been steadily providing military, financial, and humanitarian assistance. Mr. Trudeau made a surprise visit to Ukraine in June, where he pledged $500 million more in military aid. He also regularly keeps in touch with Mr. Zelensky. Maybe, just maybe, they could play the piano together. Not sure if you knew it or not, but Mr. Zelensky is quite the penisist. The latest announcement pertains to a $650 million commitment over 3 years to provide 50 armored vehicles. Mr. Trudeau said those include medical evacuation vehicles to be built in London, Ontario. The manufacturer was not immediately disclosed, but General Dynamics has a plant in London and already has a contract to build light armored vehicles for Ukraine. See, there's always an upside to war for someone. The Prime Minister's office said that since January 2022, the Canadian government, that's you and I taxpayers, have provided over $8.9 billion in assistance to Ukraine. Is that what you wanted to provide? I know I sure didn't. This includes $4.95 billion in direct financial support and $1.8 billion in military aid. Now, just imagine how much you could buy in groceries for $8.9 billion, because our present government is totally worried and concerned about that, folks. The PMO says Canada has provided the highest per capita direct financial support to Ukraine of all G7 countries. Coincidentally, we also have the highest accumulated fiscal deficit in the history of the country as well. I guess that's what the price of democracy costs these days. Anyway, I do appreciate you watching. Thank you very much. You can also follow me on my Rumble, my local account. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please do so. You can also chime in at Camera612 on Twitter, and I will see you next time.